Hey, Eagle fans, I'm Thomas Mott. Welcome to Philadelphia Eagles Now. Happy NFL trade deadline Tuesday. Notice my hair is wet because it's early in the morning. I just showered. We're trying to get you guys this video out before trades start happening to break down the latest Eagles news and rumors. And of course, if a trade does happen, we'll come back on later today and break it all down for you guys here. As I think the Eagles are going to do something today. The question is what? Buy, sell? Maybe nothing, who knows? Let's jump into what we know as of right now, very early here on a Tuesday morning. Again, if you watch this later on in the afternoon, things might have changed, so watch it as quickly as possible, right? Here we go. Let's start with Fletcher Cox, the name that's starting to really start to build some steam right now in terms of possibly being traded by 4 p.m. Eastern time during the NFL trade deadline here on a Tuesday. NFL Network's Ian Rapoport has said teams have called about Fletcher Cox. The problem is they're not potentially, at least up to this point, giving the Eagles what they would want in return, which is a high first-round draft pick or a high early-round draft pick, first, second, or third. Teams are offering a mid to late-round pick, which, of course, is not necessarily something I think Philadelphia wants to do unless they find a way to get rid of some of the dead cap hit, because right now it looks like it'd be about a $37 million dead cap penalty if traded. It's $21 million. It goes up to $37 million. Dead cap is very confusing, but right now what you need to know about the Fletcher Cox deal is that financially it's very difficult for the Eagles to actually do to make sense. They'd have to really want to get rid of Fletcher Cox or have a team take on some of his salary in order to go ahead and actually move the big man and the star defensive tackle. Let's go ahead and throw up the quote from Ian Rapoport, which started the whole rumors just the other day. Quote, Eagles defensive tackle Fletcher Cox. Teams have been contacting the Eagles about Cox, figuring they could take a run at him, see if they could get him for a mid to late round pick. On the heels of Cox airing grievances about the defense, teams have reacted. Cox is one of the core veterans GM's High Roseman wants around, so he's unlikely to part with him for anything less than a high pick, end quote. So that basically makes sense in terms of teams want to try to get him on a discount. Philadelphia says we want to keep him unless you offer us a crazy, very high deal, or very high pick. Here's my thought process on all of this. I don't know how the Eagles can trade Fletcher Cox. Again, the dead cap money just doesn't make sense. Unless they want to essentially trade him away, keep his contract, because they basically have to, with the way the dead cap works, and re-signing him early this offseason, restructuring his deal makes it very difficult for them to get rid of the contract. They would have to essentially say, we will keep paying him as long as you give us a first-round draft pick. Like, that's the only scenario I see for Cox being traded, unless the internal battle between Cox and management is so bad that we don't know about it, that they would take trading him for a third or fourth-round draft pick. So I really don't expect this to happen. I would be very surprised if it does, but the only two scenarios are, one, if a team would give them a first or second round draft pick, or two, if the Eagles and Fletcher Cox's relationship is so broken beyond repair, which has not been reported to my knowledge, that it would have to be, we got to get rid of him, so we'll take a fourth round draft pick and just be done with it. So keep an eye on Cox, even though the name's being floated around at the deadline. I don't expect him to be traded, but it could happen. If it does, we'll cover it here. Ad break down below, answer this question. We'll start the show with this. Will Fletcher Cox be on the Eagles next year? What do you think? He's obviously signed. Will he actually be there next year? Will he survive the deadline today? Type Y down below for yes, or type N down below for no. All right, let's move over to some wide receiver trade news that's getting very, very heavy going into this deadline. A lot of media members in Philadelphia are calling for the Eagles to add a wide receiver to help out the wide receiver core, which has been struggling mightily the past couple of weeks, especially with Devontae Smith not playing well. And so OBJ, his name is being thrown around a bunch. I think he's going to be traded at the deadline somewhere, and so why not Philadelphia is kind of the thought process by some people in Eagles media. A lot of Eagle fans, again, are wanting a wide receiver because we understand that Devontae Smith is really good and will be really good. He's struggling right now, but some help would be nice on the outside, because Rager's ankle injury and just Rager's play in general has not been that great, and they don't throw the ball to Quez Watkins for whatever reason. So I think adding a receiver, not just in the short term, but one who is signed for the next couple of years, could be a good move. Now the question is, does OBJ make a lot of sense? There are people out there saying his contract is, quote, untradeable, because he's still on that supermassive deal that he signed a couple of years ago, and the production, at least in Cleveland, whether it's Baker Mayfield's fault or not, has really not been there. Here's the New York Post on a possible OBJ trade. They kind of break it down in an interesting way. Quote, Odell Beckham Jr. has been tied to the NFL trade deadline for weeks, but the latest trends signal that he might not be moved from the Cleveland Browns ahead of Tuesday. According to a report from Yahoo Sports' Charles Robinson, general managers aren't interested in inheriting someone else's cap dump and overvalue just a name players don't have a market to speak of. And overvalued just to name players, don't have a market to speak of. Some apparently consider Beckham in that category, end quote. Now, they say that because you hear the name Odell Beckham Jr., you think number one wide receiver. You look at the numbers over the past couple of years, especially this year, the numbers have been down. Now, if you follow Cleveland sports at all, which I did some digging into terms of how they feel about OBJ, people are torn as to whether OBJ is good and Baker Mayfield just isn't, or OBJ is the problem right now on the last place Browns in the AFC North. So, regardless of if it is OBJ, I do think Philadelphia should at least look at a wide receiver, whether it's OBJ or somewhere else. We talked about N'Keal Harry. We talked about James Washington. There are names out there to be had because as you currently see the Eagle wide receiver depth chart, it's just not as good as we hoped it would be. I mean, Rager had to actually play like a first-round draft pick this year for this group to actually be good. He has not done so, and so it's really just been kind of occasionally Quez Watkins, occasionally Devontae Smith, and then I guess the Dallas Goedert show in terms of receiving for the Philadelphia Eagles. A name I want you guys to keep an eye on today is Devontae Parker of the Miami Dolphins. He has been linked massively to trade deadline speculation. The Dolphins are trying to get some more draft picks after trading a couple of those away, one of them, of course, to us in Philadelphia. And Parker is a guy that would make sense due to the fact that he is the best receiver on the Dolphins. The Eagles and Dolphins have a trade history. Remember last year this past year during the draft, they've done trades before, and he's still on a team-friendly deal. Only going to be owed about $7 to $8 million this year and is signed through next season as well. So I think Philadelphia, whatever they do today, should not look for short-term rentals. Whoever they trade for, if they do, needs to be somebody who will be on this football team next year. And so a guy like Devontae Parker, I think, makes a ton of sense. Keep an eye on him from Miami. I think he's going to be moved today. Will Philly make a phone call? I think they should. We'll find out, obviously, as the day progresses. Now, before we go ahead and get into some names I think Philadelphia might trade away internally, which we've talked about, we'll jump on those here in a second. First, a quick shout-out to our friends at BetUS. Go to chatsports.com/EaglesBet. Use that promo code EAGLES125 to get a 125% deposit bonus whenever you first sign up. You put $100 down, you use our promo code at checkout and our link. You'll turn that into $225 for you guys to bet on. My picks of the week, we talk about those every single week. This is what I use to go ahead and bet, and I'm in the green this year, and it's just a lot of fun. I throw $10 here, $10 there, bet for the Eagles, bet against the Eagles, test your knowledge against Vegas, essentially, and have some fun betting on some games. Do it with our friends at BetUS. Link is obviously on the screen, and the promo code is EAGLES125. All right, let's get into some of the Eagles, of course, who can be traded today. I think at least one of these will be. I'd be shocked if they don't make any sort of seller moves today. Andre Dillard is kind of the name we keep hearing being a relevant factor for a trade at the trade deadline, simply because they just don't need him, right? Jordan Mailata is the left tackle of the future. They paid him like that earlier this offseason, so obviously he is going to be the left tackle going forward. And I think you can get a left tackle desperate team like a Carolina Panthers or a Pittsburgh Steelers who need help at left tackle to give you, a second or a third round draft pick. And if someone wants to offer that, I think Philadelphia definitely makes a move for a guy or gets rid of Andre Dillard in order to go ahead and keep adding draft picks to their already heavy arsenal. Another name that I think they 100% should at least try to trade is Derek Barnett, the pass rusher who is in the final year of his deal. They're not going to bring him back next year, and so you might as well get something for him, a 6th-round draft pick, a 5th-round draft pick, because you're going to let him walk in free agency anyway, and he's not really doing anything from a production standpoint. Those are the two big names I think Philadelphia should definitely look to go ahead and move on from, and if they do, obviously, we will cover it here, and that's what I want to go ahead and get into right now. If a move is made, we will have a video immediately after the trade happens. Like, literally, the trade happens, and I'm obviously right here in front of the camera, getting it done, editing it, posting as quickly as possible, reacting to the news, so make sure you guys are subscribed, because if Philadelphia does, and they have made moves in the past at the trade deadline, and they've done it a lot the past couple of years, and some of them have been pretty good, like Jay Ajayi at the trade deadline during the Eagles Super Bowl run, all of these can be possible, and if they are, we'll cover it here on the channel, so make sure you guys go down below and subscribe. Other players who could be traded. I read an article talking about Eric Wilson and Alex Singleton. Philadelphia feels like they have a lot of linebackers, not really good ones, but they do have some young guys behind these two players, and Wilson and Singleton, obviously Davion Taylor and Sean Bradley. I think Philadelphia's thought process is Wilson and Singleton aren't anything special, so get rid of them for something in return. Play the young guys. If they don't play well, then obviously draft somebody or add somebody next offseason. So keep an eye on linebacker being a potential move, because again, I think they'd be fine with starting Sean Bradley or Davion Taylor, even though it might be a step down in performance. It's not like there's much to step down from, because the linebackers have played pretty darn badly the past couple of weeks. Finally, Miles Sanders, his name continues to be at least asked, and a lot of people in mailbag questions are asking this video. A lot of people on websites like Bleeding Green Nation are asking this question. I don't think they will. I don't want them to, but I do think if a running back needy team like Atlanta wants to go ahead and make a phone call here, and they want to give you something decent, if the Eagles aren't going to use Miles Sanders, and you saw what they did with Boston Scott and Jordan Howard, who were just fine filling in, they drafted Kenny Gainwell, this could be a possibility, even though I personally would want to keep Miles Sanders going forward. Even though he's on IR, the teams can agree to go ahead and kind of make that trade happen, so keep an eye on Sanders as well as rounding out our list of 5 players the Eagles could potentially go ahead and ship out of here. Now, I'll end on this. Will the Eagles make a trade today? What do you think? You think that they will? I think that they will. I think there will be a trade at some point, whether it's a buy or a sell, add or subtract. We'll cover it here on the channel, obviously, so make sure you guys are subscribed. That's our final call for that, because you want to be subscribed and hit the notification bell, because the notification bell will put our video on your screen. Like, it'll notify you as soon as it happens. So if you're working today, you're running around, you can't keep up to date with the Eagles, if something happened, subscribe and be notified here, because we will cover it for you guys on the channel. Ultimate for today on our Philadelphia Eagles Now early trade video. Little circles underneath my eyes, trying to get you guys this video as quickly as possible. So hopefully you guys appreciate that. Thumbs up for that. Good work by our producers today as well. We sign off. We'll keep an eye on things here. Enjoy the rest of your day.